Today marks a historical day in our nation's history. After over 80,000 pages were declassified by this administration and previous documents declassified under previous admins were located at the National Archives, it is time to present the findings to the American people so that they can determine the truth for themselves.
In the bright sunlight of Dallas, on November 22, 1963, America's future changed forever. For over 6 decades, a cloud of suspicion has hung over what truly happened that fateful day when President Kennedy's motorcade rolled through Dealey Plaza. While the official narrative points squarely at Lee Harvey Oswald as the lone gunman, Oscar-winning director Oliver Stone has spent decades challenging this conclusion. Now, armed with newly declassified documents and fresh testimony before Congress, Stone has presented what he considers compelling evidence that Oswald could not have been Kennedy's assassin. The long shadow of doubt. The official narrative of President Kennedy's assassination has stood for decades. Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former Marine with Marxist sympathies, acting alone, fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. This conclusion, cemented by the Warren Commission in 1964, has been the foundation of the accepted historical record. Yet, from the beginning, doubts lingered. Oliver Stone's 1991 film JFK dramatically challenged this narrative, suggesting a vast conspiracy involving elements of the U.S. government. While critics questioned its historical accuracy, the film grossed over $200 million and sparked renewed public interest in the case, ultimately leading to the passage of the JFK Records Act in 1992, which mandated the release of assassination-related documents. On April 1, 2025, Stone appeared before the House Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, calling for a comprehensive re-investigation of Kennedy's assassination. The hearing followed the release of thousands of previously classified documents related to the case. Stone argued that decades of delays in releasing unredacted records had prevented clarity about who killed JFK, and that a new investigation, quote, outside all political considerations, should begin, quote, at the scene of the crime. The task force, chaired by Representative Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, heard Stone describe what he views as a pattern of government stonewalling. While scholarly consensus still largely supports the lone gunman theory, Stone's testimony highlighted significant gaps and inconsistencies in the official record that continue to fuel alternative explanations. Perhaps most significantly, Stone emphasized that this wasn't merely an academic exercise in historical revision, but a matter of restoring public trust in American institutions. Quote, "Can we return to a world where we can trust our government to level with us, the people for which this government exists?" Stone asked the committee. "This is our democracy, this is our presidency, it belongs to us." The CIA's Oswald files.
One newly declassified passage showed that Angleton had lied under oath about his surveillance of Oswald's correspondence while he lived in the Soviet Union from 1959 to 1962. And that, for me, was a tipping point.
In the spring of 2023, a breakthrough occurred that would fundamentally alter the conversation around Lee Harvey Oswald. The CIA fully declassified its pre-assassination file on Oswald, documents that had been closely guarded for 6 decades. These files were originally housed in the office of James Angleton, the CIA's counterintelligence chief, just a short distance from the White House where President Kennedy worked. While initial reactions from some journalists dismissed the files as merely evidence of incompetence or bureaucratic self-protection, Stone's analysis revealed something far more troubling. On March 18, 2025, when the National Archives began posting long-secret JFK assassination records, Stone discovered a declassified transcript of Angleton's testimony to the House Select Committee on Assassinations from 1978. This transcript contained a bombshell revelation. Angleton had lied under oath about his surveillance of Oswald's correspondence during Oswald's time in the Soviet Union from 1959 to 62. This wasn't an isolated incident. According to Stone's testimony, Angleton became the 3rd senior CIA officer to have provided false testimony about Oswald. The first was Deputy Director Richard Helms, who told the Warren Commission in May 1964 that the CIA had only, quote, minimal information about Oswald prior to Kennedy's assassination, a claim contradicted by the newly released files showing extensive monitoring of Oswald. The second CIA officer identified by Stone was George Joanides, who headed the Covert Action Branch of the CIA's Miami station in 1963. Joanides directed agents in a classified program called AMSPEL that generated propaganda about Oswald's pre-Castro activities both before and after Kennedy was killed. More troublingly, when the House launched a new investigation in 1978, the CIA assigned Joanides to serve as liaison to the congressional investigators without disclosing his earlier role in operations connected to Oswald. In this position, he effectively blocked any investigation into contacts between Oswald and Joanides' agents. Stone forcefully argued that this pattern of deception cannot be dismissed as mere incompetence or bureaucratic self-protection. Quote, one false statement might be incompetence, a second false statement might be covering for the first false statement, but 3 false statements by top CIA officers about Kennedy's accused killer, that is a pattern, Stone testified. It's a pattern of misconduct, it's a pattern of malfeasance, it is, in a word, incriminating. These revelations raise disturbing questions. Why would multiple high-ranking CIA officials feel compelled to lie about their knowledge of and interactions with Oswald? What exactly was the nature of the CIA's interest in Oswald before the assassination? And perhaps most importantly, does this pattern of deception suggest Oswald was being monitored, manipulated, or even set up as a patsy in the months leading up to November 22, 1963? The physical evidence challenge.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet. The first thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hall asked me that question.
Beyond the documentary evidence of CIA deception, Stone presented potentially explosive physical evidence that directly challenges Oswald's role as the assassin. During his testimony, Stone referenced footage that appears to show someone resembling Oswald watching the presidential motorcade from street level at the time of the shooting, making it physically impossible for him to have been firing from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. Stone told the committee that he and researcher James DiEugenio had viewed the film, which shows, quote, a potential Oswald watching the motorcade go by, which means he was downstairs at the time of the shooting. While Stone acknowledged they couldn't definitively confirm the man's identity, he noted the striking resemblance. Most crucially, Stone revealed that NBC News possesses the original film but has twice refused to make it public. This revelation prompted Stone to urge the Congressional Task Force to subpoena NBC to release the footage, arguing that, quote, the American public should have a right to judge for itself who was standing there. This isn't the only physical evidence that raises questions about Oswald's guilt. The alleged murder weapon, a Mannlicher Carcano rifle, has long been criticized by firearms experts as an imprecise weapon that would have made the shooting sequence nearly impossible, especially for someone with Oswald's mediocre marksmanship record in the Marines. Questions also persist about the infamous magic bullet that allegedly caused multiple wounds to both Kennedy and Governor John Connally before emerging in nearly pristine condition. The timeline of Oswald's movements after the shooting has also come under scrutiny. According to the Warren Commission, Oswald left the 6th floor, purchased a Coke from a vending machine, and was seen calmly drinking it by his supervisor approximately 90 seconds after the shooting, a remarkably composed demeanor for someone who had just assassinated the President of the United States. The pattern of threats in the bigger picture. One of the most startling revelations from Stone's testimony was that the Dallas assassination was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of what appears to be a coordinated series of attempts on President Kennedy's life in November of 1963. Stone detailed 3 distinct assassination plots that month, one in Chicago, another in Tampa, and the ultimately successful one in Dallas. The Chicago plot in early November was abandoned when authorities received information about potential snipers positioned along a motorcade route. Just days before Dallas, another attempt was reportedly planned during Kennedy's visit to Tampa on November 18th. Stone noted the stark contrast in security between Tampa and Dallas. Quote, at the one in Tampa, there was just the opposite of Dallas. You had wall-to-wall Secret Service, FBI, etc. Kennedy was apparently so relieved after the Tampa visit, he stayed at the Floridian Hotel and insisted on shaking hands with every single officer involved in that attempt. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent? And if so, who do you think was responsible for the assassination? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.